So I've been getting a lot of questions and comments from my folks at work and my friends at work, and also members of my family who have asked about my latest fascination and hobby with camping. And so I wanted to talk about how exactly I camp and how I got into it again, and what motivates me to camp. And Just to make sure that, a lot of people have asked, well, how did you ever get involved in it? And the fact that it doesn't seem to match my personality. The fact that for the longest time I've been sort of the type that doesn't even like to go outside hardly. I've been like that for more than 10 years. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about why I camp and why I do these videos, even though most of the videos that I produce are private in nature, and I don't put them anywhere where a lot of people can see them. Making these videos is kind of a fusion between two interests that I have. One is my hobby of camping, and also the fact that part of my studies is in getting my master's in nursing, is my interest in using social media and audiovisual, more modern audiovisual aids to help nurses learn about nursing and to improve nursing practice and patient care and improve patient outcomes. And so I produce these videos. Most of them are private. I don't put them anywhere where the general public can see them. Is in order for me to practice my skills in making these videos. The program that I use is Corel Video Studio X8, although every year or so I spend $50 to get the next version. But that's sort of the impetus for why I am doing these videos, kind of keep my skills up with the video editing and video making, and also I'm going to, as some of you know at work, I use them to produce teaching instructional videos. The last big thing I did was about 10 videos about our LaborWorks time and attendance system, and so to kind of keep us all modernized so that we're not always going to be dependent on written material or attending classes, which I hate to do. I used to camp many years ago when I first graduated from college and I was teaching in high school. I had met some friends who enjoyed camping along the Blue Ridge Parkway, and so I did this, and most of the times, and not just Blue Ridge Parkway, we also did some things up in the northern part of Richmond, Virginia, towards Northern Virginia, but mostly heading west towards Charlottesville and that area, that part of Virginia. And we would park our car, and then we would hike in about a mile or two into private property that one of my friend's parents owned. And so that's how I kind of got involved in camping, specifically hiking. But that was when I was much younger. I was 25, 26 years old, and I could bear an awful lot of weight, and I had two good knees, and I could handle that kind of strenuous exercise, whereas I really can't do that anymore. So much of what I do now is nowhere near as strenuous or dangerous as what I was doing back in my younger days. And then 9/11 happened. After 9/11 happened, I really was very much negatively affected by 9/11, as I'm sure many Americans and all over the earth, all over the world, were affected by 9/11. And one of the things that 9/11 did for me is it kind of made me very fearful. From 9/11 on, for the past 15 years, or really 18 years since 9/11, I really have been very careful and cautious. I am very deeply affected by all of the random shooting incidents that we've had, not just the school shootings, but in public, shopping malls, colleges, just anywhere where there has been shooting incidences. All of those made me very fearful to get outside. And I decided at this age, now that I'm 56, about to turn 56, that I really wanted to do something about that and try to become less fearful and put myself in situations where, yes, there's risk, but there is intelligently thought out and calculated risks, and that you really can't live your life fearful of going from one activity to another. And so that's what has got me back into camping. Even though I don't do 1 to 4 mile backpacking excursions into the wilderness, since I'm doing camping on my own, I really don't want to be in a situation where I could fall down and hurt myself and maybe either not have cell service or break my cell phone, and then I'm not able to call for help. So I pretty much use only organized campsites, and now I'm trying to kind of learn again how to trust and enjoy a more public existence without constantly worrying about, well, this is a really big group of people. What if somebody comes in here with a gun? How am I going to plan my escape out of a building? That's one of the things that I used to relentlessly do. Is when I'd get into a building like a theater or something like that, I'm always scanning the room trying to figure out what would be the fastest way to escape if there was a shooter. And so you can't live your life really that way. So I'm trying to loosen up a bit on that sort of fearfulness. So over the past couple of years, we started to travel more. For many, many years after 9/11, I wouldn't even get on an on an airplane. Was very scared of violence and being blown out of the sky, which I still sort of am, but no more than anybody else is. And so now I've even taken an international flight to visit my parents in the Philippines a couple of years ago. We've gone on a Hawaiian cruise, and now we just travel more than we ever have. And I'm trying to do that in order to kind of break out of my shell. And camping is one of those situations where you really can enjoy the scenery, enjoy being outside, and if you do it properly, especially the way I do it in organized campsites, or I'm almost never alone. There's almost always at least another group of people within earshot of me, so that if I get into trouble or whatever, and plus I always have my cell phone. I don't go anywhere where I don't have cell coverage, and so kind of learn to enjoy being outside again and not being so paranoid and fearful. So about 8 months ago, I went out and did some research on new camping gear and spent about $500. Much to Brent's dismay, on camping gear. Probably not that much, probably $300. I bought a more modern tent. I got a 3-season tent because I don't like to cold camp, so that I can stay inside. I've got a safe place to stay if it rains, and if there are bugs, I've got a way to keep the bugs out. And so I'm not sleeping under a tarp on an air mattress anymore. And also, my days of being able to sleep on the ground are gone, long gone. And so I've also, I tried using an air mattress, but I couldn't get it to blow up properly. I kept on waking up flat on the ground. So I went ahead and got a cot. This Coleman cot has kind of like springs in it, almost like mattress springs. And then there's a pad on top, pretty well insulated. I still use a sleeping bag and blankets and covers and all that stuff, so that I can have a more comfortable night's rest now that I'm getting older. I also well gone are the days of me being able to take a poop in the woods. Back in the younger days, I would go out with a shovel and a roll of paper towels, toilet paper rather, and dig a hole in the middle of the woods. Those days, I can't do that anymore. So one of the things that I saw on YouTube was I saw someone doing a review on one of the new portable toilets for campers, minivans, boats, things like that. And this one that I have here, the Thetford, is just a specific brand, but they all have the same concept where you put water in it and it flushes. You have a bowl. It feels and looks like a regular toilet seat. Although mine is a bit low to the ground, I have to elevate mine on something so that it's more normal in height. And plus, when it's that short, with knees as bad as mine, it's hard to get off of it. And so, but other than that, it's really, really very comfortable and not a problem. Later on, I'm going to cut in a video about how the Thetford brand of toilets work, although there are many brands out there that you can use. I also am not really good at sleeping in cold weather. I remember I've never been good at winter camping, even when I was young. And so most of my camping was done either summer or when the temperature would not dip into the 50s. Even now, the coldest that I've camped this year, it got 41 degrees, and I was very uncomfortable until I bought a this propane stove. It's called a Mr. I think it's called a My Buddy Mr. Portable Heater or something like that. And it feeds off propane. It has a carbon monoxide detector, and with the type of Coleman tent that I use, which has a lot of airflow through it, it is certainly not an airtight tent. My chances of being hurt by carbon monoxide poisoning are very low. But on the advice of somebody at work, I am going to buy, I didn't know that they had these so cheaply. For $18 I can get a carbon monoxide detector that even though this heater has one in it, I can have something else to back up that will make an alarm if it'll make a smoke alarm kind of sound if it detects carbon monoxide. So I'll start to do that, but I've been very comfortable with this product. It takes 2 tanks, 2 1-pound propane tanks that you can get anywhere, and that will run, each one is supposed to run 6 hours, but the way that I use it is about 4 hours. So with 2 tanks I could get through the night pretty easily. But this fall I'm going to switch. I'm going to get an adapter so that it'll run off a 20-pound propane tank, similar to what you used on a barbecue grill, so that I can run it all night and not have to get out of my sleeping bag to change the tank. One of the things that I learned when I was studying for my bachelor's and now for my master's is what a treasure trove YouTube is for instructional videos, not just about nursing topics. I've even found topics for nursing statistics and all sorts of things on YouTube, and also all the various nursing equipment that we've got at where I work. Invariably, there is some YouTube made by either another hospital or by the manufacturer on how to use that. So I happened to find this guy's, his name is Joe Robinet. He is from Canada. He's Canadian, and I was fascinated because one of the things that I'm interested in is prepping, disaster prepping. And I was looking at his videos more from the perspective of how do you survive if, technology, everything kind of went asunder. And so I was especially fascinated with how you could light fires without a lighter. Everything that I use to light fires depends on you having a lighter. And so then that's when it kind of sparked my attention on how to get back into camping, and the fact that even though this guy is much younger than I am, and all the people that I watch are much younger than I am, he is very intelligent about how to go into the woods by yourself. Often is by himself, maybe with his dog, and how to safely and intelligently enjoy yourself and enjoy nature, and do it in a way that is minimizing your risk for injury, even when he doesn't have cell phone service. He has some kind of satellite-based emergency line or something that he can activate. And so Joe Robinet, I owe an awful lot to him as far as everything from how to split a log with an axe, how to start a fire without a lighter, what to do if it rains on you. All these things are things that I've learned thanks to him. This is another young guy. I call him TA Outdoors. I forgot his name. I should know his name. But he's another guy. This is a young man from England. I'm pretty sure he lives in England, and he goes into the wild country up in England, and he also stays outside and learns how to. He showed me different ways of how to start fires, how to keep a fire going, how to cold camp, which I'm not really interested in, and he also has a lot of very interesting videos that he makes with his father on how to fish and hunt and how to process game. He very, very intelligent camping and hiking videos that have given me an awful lot of ideas on how to cook and how to clean, how to keep things clean, and how to survive in the wilderness, even though I'm just doing car camping. And for me, in the worst case scenario, I would just run into my car, start it, and drive off. But still, he has taught me an awful lot about bushcrafting and surviving in the woods. Matthew Posa is an American. He lives in Michigan, and I recently found his YouTube channel through links. That's how kind of you do this happens on the internet. So I found him. He lives in Michigan and spends an awful lot of time, also again in the woods, just like these other two guys, Joe Robinet and TA Outdoors. All three of these guys go out with their dogs, right, and sometimes with their wives, more often with their dogs. And I've learned from each of them how to deal with the fact that you're going to be uncomfortable. I've kind of learned, how am I going to say, a greater respect and willingness to be. If I'm rained on, I'm not going to be sad or upset. If it's too hot, if it's too cold, I will just deal with it. And if I can't deal with it, then I'll leave. It's not a big deal. Whereas, as most of you know, my personality is usually very exact and precise. In my nursing career, I am extremely precise, and I like to have everything planned. I don't believe in just winging anything in nursing, but you can't live your whole life that way. And so this particular one, Matthew Posa, he really is very energetic and very alive in how he celebrates out in nature. And he does all the things that I do. He dumps his food accidentally into his fire. I can't imagine how many tons of dirt this guy has eaten off of his own camp food, but he enjoys it. He still is able to enjoy it, and that's one of the lessons that I've kind of taken from him. These four guys are pretty interesting. Adventure Archives. I found them, some months ago. They are two brothers. They're three Asians, I think, and then and a Caucasian. They're friends. Apparently, they met in college. They're all in their 20s. Have been camping for in their teens, it looks like, and they're sort of the same situation as the other three guys, trying to show that you can make it out in the woods. It's not a big deal if things go perfectly as planned. They get rained on and snowed on a lot because they do an awful lot of late fall and midwinter. I mean, really stuff that I would never do. They hike into the backcountry, which again, not something that I'm interested in doing. And so they also have kind of taught me how to lighten up and kind of enjoy myself when I'm out in nature. I've been to 3 campsites in Arizona. I went to White Spars Campground that's up near Payson. Prescott. Very beautiful country, but I wanted to be near water. So the past 4 visits, I've gone to a campground called Christopher Creek Campground, and that's kind of my home base of where I want to go when I, at the last minute, want to go to a campground. Christopher Creek is near Payson, Arizona. It's about an hour and 45 minutes northeast of here. It is right along the Mogollon Rim, which is where you convert from Desert Valley into the highlands of Arizona. So that's where the desert kind of ends, and you can start having more seasonal temperatures. And there's a lot of tourism in that area for people in the valley, Phoenix and Tucson. They go here for the higher elevation in order to get away from the heat during the summer. So, but I don't camp. I generally look at the weather, and if it's going to be too warm, since there's no way I can really air condition myself up there, then I don't. So most of my camping is going to be like spring and fall. Probably my last camping trip will probably be in early October at the latest. These are some pictures that I took from my last trip out, or maybe 2 trips ago. This is Christopher Creek Campground. Very nice, about 40 lots. This is what the creek looked like the last time I went. Very, very nice little creek. They say that you can go fishing in there, but I didn't see any fish, but I think the water levels are kind of low. But it's very green up there. I want to go up there when it starts to turn fall color soon. And it's a very nice, serene, tranquil area. And even when I go and there are families there, for the most part, it is really dead quiet by 10 o'clock at night. And I even appreciate having families nearby because it tends to, I don't feel as isolated. This is a picture I took of an adjacent campsite to mine, just to kind of see what they look like. This is the one that I stay at, campsite number 35. I just happened to be, that was the last one available, and I kind of like it, so I kind of now always go there. That's kind of what it looks like with the car and the picnic table and my tent that's been freshly set up. You can see my shovel there. And this is just a panoramic view of the inside of my tent. So this is one corner. That's the door. The door. I've got it sealed off because it's kind of, they're like bugs outside. And as I said earlier, I've got one of the tent flaps open. Normally that's all covered. That's the rain flap. And then there's my spot. I like the size of this tent. It's a 4-man Coleman tent. I had a 3-man tent and it was too small. I couldn't get both my cot and my chair in here, and I really like to sit in my chair. So that's my chair, and this is my cot. I'm using a pillowcase stuffed with my pullover jacket so that I don't have to carry a pillow. And then this is the Coleman cot that I have. I think they sell these at Walmart. I bought mine on Amazon. I'm covering it with blankets. And last night, I'm glad. I normally I didn't think to bring a winter weight sleeping bag, but I'm kind of glad I did, because last night, or rather a couple of times ago that I came up, it actually was cold enough to use. All right, and then this is the tail end. I'm now sitting in my chair, and then this is the other side. That's the back of the tent. I left it covered because there are people across the way, but the sides are both open, and the front is open. Plenty of space. One of the nice things about having a cot is that there's plenty of space to store stuff. I'm not really doing that right now. I'm probably going to switch from backpacks and bags, over-the-shoulder bags. I'm probably going to switch to plasticware, like big bins that I can put under there. And plus it'll be a lot easier to load into the car. But right now, I mean, that's on my tote. It's pretty big. It actually rolls. And then that's my little it's called Mr. Buddy portable heater. It is a propane heater. This is kind of what got me originally to think about camping in the semi-winter time. I still don't go when it's really, really cold, but this works off these little propane tanks. This one is empty, or I'd fire it up. And this has 2 settings. It has high and low setting, and it's not thermostatically controlled. And so if you put it on low, it'll run for about anywhere from 3.5 to 4.5 hours. Some people on YouTube say that it's gone 6 hours, but I haven't had that. I usually get about maybe 4.5 to 5 hours, which is fine. There is an adapter kit where you can, instead of using these propane tanks, but you can attach it to by a long tube to a 20-pound propane tank that is accessed. I don't know if you can see that port there. There's a little port there that you can put the tank outside, and then you can run the Mr. Buddy portable heater all night long without having to refill it. As of right now, I usually wake up in the middle of the night, normally because I get cold and realize that the heater's out, and then I just change the tank. It's not a really big deal, but it would be nice if I'm all bundled up. It would be nice to just have it running. I have used this heater, and it's gotten as cold as 41 outside, and it's been very comfortable. Sometimes, in fact, it gets to be too warm. The shape of these Coleman tents is a dome, and so most of the heat rises to the top. And so in the wintertime, when all the flaps are closed and all the doors are closed, it can get kind of warm. So last night I ran it. It only got to about 60. But even 60 to me is uncomfortably cold. And so I ran it. I started running it around 1 a.m. But I had to keep one of these flaps. I think these door flaps, there are 2 of them. Right one, that's the left one, this is the right one. I had to keep one of them partially open to allow the excess heat to escape, which sounds kind of wasteful, but if I didn't, it would get too hot in here. But once it gets to dip below 50, into the 40s, then I would seal the whole thing up. And I don't worry too much about carbon monoxide poisoning, because this heater unit has a carbon monoxide detector in it, and so that's pretty cool. It'll detect it and will shut off automatically. It also has an automatic shut off if it is tipped over. And the way that it's designed, because of the angle of the handle, as soon as you try to pick it up, it becomes off-centered. And so if you try to pick it up while it's still running, it'll automatically cut off, which is kind of a nice feature. All right, and then the other thing, this is what everybody at work laughs about. The other piece of equipment that has made camping a possibility again for me is my little toilet. And so this is a, I forgot what kind of toilet this is, but what happened, and I don't want to open it because I've used it and it's not clean inside, or else I would. Maybe I'll take a shot of it clean when I clean it out. But anyway, it's kind of short. I put it up on, it's kind of uncomfortable with my knees, but if you are a short person or if you have a good knees, you can open that. That opens to it looks like a normal toilet with a little oval thing, and the nice thing about it is that it has a water reservoir that you can use to fill and flush the bowl. And then there is a handle down here when you're done that then flushes everything that's in the bowl into a sealed receptacle unit on the bottom. And so I have used this several times, and to be quite honest, the first time I used it I couldn't find a dump station. I didn't realize that White Spar Campground in Prescott had no dump station, so I had to carry it home full, and I had been using it for only one night, but I'd used it a couple of times, and it was fine. It didn't stink up the car, and it was not a big huge deal. And emptying out, although it is unpleasant, I'm a nurse, so how unpleasant can it be, right? But I like the fact that I can use it. I can use it in the tent. I have a whole bunch of bathroom supplies, including deodorizer and wet wipes and all that stuff, and so I can take care of myself without having to use the well, number one, the woods, which that's what I used to do much younger. I really can't do that anymore. And but I also don't like using the pit toilets or the vault toilets. They often smell just too bad. They're not flush toilets like they are in most of Virginia. Most Virginia state parks are flush toilets. There are a few that are vault toilets, and the vault and pit toilets, you don't flush, you just urinate and defecate into a big huge vat, and no water runs through there, and then they suck it all out, I guess, a couple of times a year, and it's just, the odor is just awful. I can't stand it. And so I like the fact that I can load it up with a gallon of water, and this one I can load it up with a gallon of water, and then I can put a little bit in there before I go, if it's a number 2, and then I can, when I'm done with the number 2, paper towel, toilet paper and wet wipes all go in there, and then I pull that lever, it all goes into the bottom. I do cover it with a trash bag, but to be quite honest, I really don't. I didn't cover it last night, and it was fine, because the cover is really, really good. Alright, so that's it. I have a couple of, and then there's just some extra things, books, water, extra propane tanks, all the sorts of things that you can have around. Okay, now you know what all my stuff is like.
With the original Porta Potty, Thetford's portable toilet line, you can be prepared for every situation. Porta Potties are freshwater flush toilets that can be taken anywhere they are needed. They're sanitary, odorless, leak-proof, easy to use and clean, durable and rugged. The two-piece design and the subsequent ability to easily separate the two tanks adds tremendous convenience and functionality. Waste and odors are sealed off when not in use. The top half holds the fresh water used to wash down the bowl during flushing. The bottom half stores waste until it's time to be emptied into a toilet. A Thetford Porta Potty portable toilet is a natural for camping, RVing, boating, tailgating, or bedside use.
Some more pictures of my last camping trip in mid-August. The water level again pretty low. I don't know. Someday I hope to be able to see it when it's higher, and supposedly you can fish in this creek. I find it very hard to believe, based on what I saw. But it was pretty low, and it had gotten some rain the week before, so the sides of the creek were kind of muddy. So I didn't really do much hiking near the creek because I didn't want to slip and fall into the water. But it was still pretty nice, pretty sunny the 2 days that I was there, and it got warm up into the high 80s, down into the low 60s at night. That's just a picture of what my campsite looked like at night, about half an hour after the sun went down. Cooking on the grill was not a good idea. It was really dark outside by the time I started cooking, and I was trying to do other things, getting my camp set up, and so I ended up burning that ribeye steak too badly to even eat it. But it was a 2-pack, thank goodness, so I had another steak that I could use to cook with, and I decided to cook that one in a pan on the grill, on the grates rather. So that piece did survive to dinner. And I used the water from minute rice, and I sauteed some tomatoes. I didn't have any other vegetables that I thought to bring. In case my mother's watching, I did not eat those 2 pieces of bacon. I just rendered it for the fat to cook the other stuff in. That's a shot of my fire after I cooked dinner, just letting the coals burn down. And that's how I clean my grill. It's just easy for me to just leave it on the fire overnight, and everything just kind of burns away. I don't have to clean it as much. So that's worked out for me pretty well. I think my next purchase may be a grill that has some legs on it, because I have had things tip over when the wood has burned down.